But now I want to talk about how you entice those people who don't want to change devils to pay you a visit. Passive people need to be motivated to come into your recruiting process. And as I said earlier, the way you do that is with your brand. And Hodes is an expert on doing brand development, so I'm not going to spend any time there, but I do want to talk a little bit about brand advertising. And in particular, I want to talk about search marketing. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to reach people who aren't looking for a job. And where do most people go on the web to find anything these days? Search engines, right? Take a look at this data point. In just 1 month, February 2007, Yahoo and Google together did almost 5 billion searches. And the vast majority of them had absolutely nothing to do with finding a job. Okay? These are searches done by the 84% of the population who aren't looking for a job. They're looking for something else. And that's the clue to good search marketing. We want to target people who aren't looking for a job and deliver an ad that will entice people in the process of doing what they're doing to consider us as an employer. And the cherry on the top of the cake is this. Take a look at what eMarketer found. That search marketing has the highest ROI of any form of online advertising. You want to be able to justify to the CFO investing in your brand even when you aren't recruiting. There's one leg of your business case. This is a smart way to spend your money. But of course, the key is doing it right. So let's talk about some best practices. First of all, lead with your strength and focus on people who aren't looking for a job. So use brand keywords, use career keywords, use work-related keywords. That's what these kinds of people, doesn't sound very nice, that's what the best talent are using search engines for. Look at the conversion rate on brand keywords, 3 times higher than most keywords. What we want to do is we want to create an ad and repeat it frequently enough that people who have the attention span of the net will get it. You can write the greatest ad, advertise it for a month or two, and you will not have the desired impact. You have to create a great ad based on a great brand, and then you have to advertise it all the time. Now, it's not like your business leaders, regardless of what industry you're in, don't know this, because it's been an axiom of advertising, since we began advertising, that you have to do things, 7 times? You have to see something 7 times for it to break into the consciousness of a person who's seeing it, because there's so much else going on in the world. Well, that was a rule of thumb created in the 1950s. We live in an information-saturated society. Today, the rule of thumb is probably 70 times if you want something to break into the consciousness of people. So what we're going to do with this search marketing around your brand is create an expectation, and then please don't forget the other part of that value proposition. By virtue of what you do, you have to make the expectation come true. Let me give you an example. Starbucks is not here, is there? Are they? Starbucks has a great employment employment brand. Not perfect, but it's pretty darn good. It is a statement. I think it's 3 sentences long. But it begins with a signature articulation of their value proposition. Our success is based on your success. Then it goes on to say, we call each other partners. That's the differentiating attribute of their employment experience. Every person who comes in to interview above the store level at Starbucks, when they go into the corporate headquarters, they have a traditional interview with a hiring manager, and then they go through a coffee taste testing experience, part of the interview, where they sit down and collaboratively with the hiring manager try to decide which blend of bean tastes best. So what is Starbucks doing? It is emulating, it is representing, it is characterizing its partnership attribute. It's letting the interviewee experience what it's like to work in a collaborative environment during the interview, making the expectation come true. But that's not all they do, because you see, the best talent are almost always employed, so we face a real crisis when they say yes, right? You work on this person, you work on her, you work on her, you finally get her to say yes, but because she's an A or B level performer, or because she has a rare skill, what happens next? She's got to give notice. And in the intervening 2 or 4 week period, guess what? She gets a counteroffer. She has buyer's remorse, something like that. So the old days, when you could just kind of end your recruiting process once they said yes, are gone forever. You want to recruit the best talent, you have to re-recruit them until the moment they come in the door. Now, I think that's pretty easy to do. Here's how Starbucks does it. After the person leaves the interview, whether they're going to get a job offer or not, they get a handwritten note from the hiring manager saying, "Thank you for coming in for the interview. We really appreciate your interest in Starbucks, and here's a couple of gift cards to the local Starbucks." So what have they done? They've extended that sense of partnership into the family, into the candidate's family, so that they too can experience that employment attribute. You want to keep re-recruiting in today's world, this is absolutely, I think, easy to do. And I used to, for 15 years, wrote a column for the Wall Street Journal about online recruiting, and I once wrote a column called Getting Past Yes, because I was hearing from you all that as many as 40% of the people who said yes didn't show up on the first day of work because they had counteroffers and so forth. And that's because our recruiting processes are unconsciously still designed for the war for any talent. But think how easy it would be to do this. The minute that she said yes, that A-level candidate, you gave her her password and ID to her own homepage on your corporate career site. And when she got home that evening and was sitting there with a glass of wine, sitting next to her spouse or her partner, she opened up that homepage. There was a personalized greeting from the president of your company saying, "Welcome to our team." And every single day for the next 2 weeks or 4 weeks, she got a constant stream of messages, not onboarding her, re-recruiting her from her new teammates, her new boss, saying, "You made the right decision. This is the right thing to do. We got great challenges. We can't wait for your contribution." The kinds of things you have to do in a war for the best talent. But first, as I said, you got to get them in the door. Okay? So let's take a look at search marketing done wrong. This is search marketing as it's traditionally done if you're in the employment business. What do? You go and you buy a keyword called sales jobs because, well, isn't that what job seekers are looking for? They're going to go to search engines, they're going to enter sales jobs. Yes, if they're an active job seeker, 16% of the population and fewer, relatively speaking, A and B level performers and rare skill holders. But if you're trying to reach passive people, that's not a keyword they're going to use. They're looking for a job. The other problem is that, guess what? Everybody else in the Western world has bought sales jobs. So it's much more expensive. You're competing with other employers. Here's Career at Lowe's. Here's Singular. And the job boards are buying up those keywords. Here is Career Builder. Here is Monster. Okay? So let's buy keywords that the best and brightest, the employed population, are likely to use at a search engine. How about something like this? If I'm in sales, one of the things that I might go onto a search engine and look for is information about how I can do a better job closing major accounts. Okay? So that's a keyword that is targeted to a person who is not looking for a job. And look at this. Hardly anybody's bought that keyword, so the price is much lower. And again, what you want to do is make sure that this little tiny ad leads with your strength, your brand attributes, and answers the question, what's in it for them? Okay? Search marketing. You've got to do brand advertising even in a down market if you want to attract the best and brightest.